Now, if I were to ask you to guess which player was getting his breakfast, lunch, and dinner taken from him, which player would you guess? Well, if you guessed this guy, you're incorrect. It was actually this specimen of an athlete. Detroit's unapologetic forward who always ran his mouth to anyone who stood against him, even if that player he was facing just so happened to be a 3 straight-time NBA MVP. Just one season before this moment, Dennis Rodman had crossed the line with some comments about Larry Bird, saying the attention and praise Bird got had more to do with the color of his skin than his actual ability. And that turned what was already a brutal rivalry into something even more personal, and Rodman was at the receiving end. On April 1st, 1988, it was the Celtics versus the Pistons, a matchup that every hoops fan in the world always had circled on their calendar weeks in advance. It felt closer to a fight, as they weren't just chasing wins, but fighting over the East. Boston was still the standard. Detroit was the hungry challenger, the bad boys, built on physical play, hard fouls, and the idea that you had to suffer to beat them. By the time the 1987-88 season rolled around, all this tension was already baked in. The Pistons were still mad about the year before. That 1987 Eastern Conference Finals loss hurt badly. 7 games, one of the most physical series the league had ever seen. Detroit thought they were ready to take over, and Boston stopped them yet again. Game 7 summed it all up. Larry Bird went off for 37 points, shooting 13 of 24 from the field. He added 9 rebounds and 9 assists, just casually doing everything while the pressure was at its highest.
Bird hits his first shot of the game.
Dennis Rodman, meanwhile, was still a rookie, even though he was already 25 years old and trying to survive in the league as a second-round pick with a limited role. He wasn't a starter, he wasn't a star, and he definitely wasn't Dennis Rodman yet in the way people later came to know him. That year, he played 77 games, mostly off the bench, and averaged just over 6 points and 4 rebounds. His role was energy, defense, and physicality, not offense or headlines. He played 18 minutes of that Game 7, picked up 4 fouls, scored 3 points, and didn't grab a single rebound. And a lot of his job in this series was guarding Bird, which turned out to be a nightmare assignment. After the loss, emotions were raw. In the locker room, reporters asked Rodman about Bird, and Rodman didn't hold back.
It's because an unsophisticated Dennis Rodman is asked about Larry Bird, and let's be real.
God in the NBA, he's like the great white hope. And I said, if Larry was a black guy, he'd just be a regular old basketball player. And I didn't realize what I said,
He said Bird was overrated, and the Boston legend had won 3 straight MVPs because he was white. Yeah, he went even further and said if Bird were black, he'd just be another good player. Not long after, Isaiah Thomas, the face of the team, was told what Rodman had said, and he didn't exactly calm things down.
Your teammate said something. Do you agree with it?
A very, very good basketball player. I think he's an exceptional talent, but I'd have to agree with Rodman. If he was black, he'd be just another good guy.
Those comments hit immediately. The Pistons moved quickly. Rodman issued an apology through the team, saying he was wrong and that it didn't really reflect how he truly felt. Isaiah later said it was a joke that got taken out of context. Bird's response was pretty much what you'd expect from Bird. He said it didn't bother him much. He'd heard worse, he'd seen worse. But here's the thing. Even if Bird brushed it off publicly, everyone knew those comments added fuel to a fire that was already out of control. From that point on, whenever Bird and Rodman matched up, he made sure to remind the young, loud defender exactly why players across the league had feared him for a decade. And Rodman, whether he liked it or not, learned that Bird wasn't just another player, regardless of race.
Isaiah, who clearly had the sophistication, picked the wrong white guy to make his point.
Bird told people close to him that he was going to bust Rodman badly when they met on the court, and that he actually hoped Rodman would be the one guarding him every single game. Bird walked into the 1987-88 season at 31 years old with nothing left to prove, and still plenty to say on the floor. By then, he was already a 3-time MVP, a 2-time NBA champion, and a Finals MVP. Just the season before, in 1986-87, he averaged 28 points, 9 rebounds, and 7 assists per game, while dragging an injury-riddled Celtics team deep into the playoffs. Somehow, the 1987-88 season turned into his highest scoring year ever. with career best numbers and points. If anyone thought Bird was slowing down, they were very wrong. Although it wasn't as easy as usual in the East for Boston. Early in the decade, the Celtics were the team to beat in the Eastern Conference, no question. In the 1980-81 season, they won 62 games and won the NBA championship. That playoff run included a 7-game Eastern Conference Finals against the 76ers, where Boston came back from being down 3-1 and won Game 7 by a single point. They then beat the Houston Rockets in 6 games to take the title. They didn't slow down after that. In 1981-82, Boston won 63 games and went right back to the Eastern Conference Finals, again facing Philadelphia. After the 82-83 season, they made the NBA Finals in 4 straight years, winning 2 more championships. From 1980 through 1987, Boston had made the Eastern Conference Finals in all but 1 year. Philadelphia had its moments during that stretch. They reached the finals in 1979 and 80, but lost to the Lakers. They beat the Celtics in the 1980 Eastern Conference Finals and again in 1981-82. Then came their peak in 1982-83 when they won 65 games and stormed through the playoffs with a 12-1 record before sweeping the Lakers in the finals. After that, though, they dropped off. They didn't make another finals appearance in the 1980s and were bounced early in several postseasons. Milwaukee was always there, always good, but never quite enough. The Bucks made the playoffs every year from 1980 through 1987 and reached the Eastern Conference semifinals each time. They won at least 50 games in 7 of those 8 seasons, reached the Eastern Conference Finals 3 times, and still never made the NBA Finals. They kept falling short. Other Eastern teams came and went. The Hawks with Dominique Wilkins had solid seasons but didn't really break through. The Knicks and Nets had decent records at times but exited early. And the Bullets made the playoffs but didn't go far. No one really agitated Boston or gave them sleepless nights until Detroit emergence in the mid to late 80s.
Really got taken down very hard, and of course Bird is very upset at Lambier and has been for a long time.
Now Rodman goes after Bird threw the ball.
The Pistons had been building quietly. They drafted Isaiah Thomas 2nd overall in 1981. They traded for Bill Lambier a year later. And by 1983-84, they were in the playoffs. In 1984-85, they ran into Boston in the 2nd round and lost in 6 games, but they didn't back off. They drafted Joe Dumas in 1985. Rick Mahorn joined around the same time. Then in 1986, they picked up Dennis Rodman in the 2nd round. Suddenly, this team had skill, toughness, and an edge that nobody else in the East really wanted to deal with. Detroit won 52 games in the 1986-87 season, and in the playoffs, they swept Washington, handled Atlanta, and pushed Boston to 7 games in the Eastern Conference Finals. They won games 3, 4, and 6, but game 5 ended with Bird stealing an inbounds pass from Isaiah Thomas and setting up the winning layup.
I want to see how they're going to play the inbounder. Are they going to give him an idea of a clear target? Red Auerbach for years felt you've got to get all over the inbound man. Don't give him a clear place to look to make the pass. Watch for the alley-oop, particularly if Sally's in the ball game. Sally is not going to be in. Dantley is going to be in. Vinnie Johnson, Isaiah, Mahorn, and Lambier. Unbelievable. And McHale is going to take the inbounder.
17 seconds to go. Bird set to inbound. Boston down 1. It comes to Dennis Johnson. Dumas has got him.
Boston survived Game 7 by 3 points, but Detroit had made it clear that they weren't going anywhere. Bird wasn't going anywhere either, and he made sure Rodman regretted his comments made the previous season. In 1987-88, Rodman actually took a big leap. He averaged a career high over 11 points and 8 rebounds over 82 games, and he started 32 of them. He was stronger, more confident, and more impactful, especially defensively. That season, the Pistons and Celtics faced each other 6 times in the regular season, and every matchup felt tense. The first meeting came on December 4th, 1987, in Detroit. The Pistons won big, 128-105. Bird still did his thing with 27 points, 9 rebounds, and 3 assists. Rodman held his own with 14 points and 7 rebounds. The second meeting was on January 13th, 1988 in Boston, and that one went the Celtics' way, 143-105. Bird recorded 28 points. He got 25 points in their third matchup and 26 points in the fourth. Bird was so far averaging over 26 points against Detroit, but the best was yet to come. In their 5th regular season game, the one everyone remembers, Boston won 121-110, but the night became all about Larry Bird and Dennis Rodman going directly at each other. Bird made sure to keep his promise of busting Rodman. Bird scored 32 points on 11 for 22 shooting, together with 11 rebounds and 5 assists in 44 minutes. He played the most minutes of anyone that night, and he made sure Rodman and the Pistons dreaded every minute of it. Rodman himself started playing 24 minutes and finished with 9 points and 8 rebounds, together with 2 blocks. Detroit assigned Rodman to guard Bird for most of the game, and early on, Bird made it very clear how he felt about that matchup. The game started with Bird drawing one of the 6 fouls that night from Rodman.
First foul of the game is picked up by Rodman, who will soon be profiled in Sports Illustrated.
Well, Rodman played them the way that you should. He got right up on Bird and challenged him to make the drive. Bird with the tough fadeaway jump shot doesn't get anything but the iron, but gets fouled.
He hit shots over Rodman, including a jumper with his back towards the basket. Rodman stayed attached and tried to be as physical as possible, but Bird kept coming and kept scoring.
They clear the zone. It's Bird one-on-one with Rodman.
Well, again, Rodman has done a good job, and Bird has to make that shot, and he does. But he's going to make some of those.
Rodman did all you can legally do
to boo their own team.
Larry Bird in the lane with the left hand again. Bird. 9 on the shot clock. Bird fakes, unloads, and Rodman fouled it. I say it every time I do a Boston game, but Dominique Wilkins had the greatest quote anybody's ever had about Larry Bird. He said, when you're playing against him, you're looking into the eyes of an assassin.
Bird had 13 points in the first half, with Rodman benched in the second quarter. The third quarter got even more physical, but Bird stayed aggressive, mixing in threes with mid-range jumpers to push Boston's lead in the game.
Ainge finds him in three-point country. Good job by Ainge. Bird has 16. Boston leads by 4.
Well, whenever they've gotten in trouble, they've gone back to the big man, and Bird comes in with the big drive.
Dumore is up the court. Isaiah against Danny Ainge. Gilmore and Mahorn bang away at one another. Offensive foul. Mahorn threw an elbow.
You take a look at it, he's getting massaged and held pretty good, and there's a little pork chop as Gilmore comes over the top, and he rushed for the last little love tap.
Take your pick. Gilmore sets the pick. Now it resolves. Bird one-on-one with Rodman. Drew the foul, score it. Gilmore and Lambert shove at one another. Rodman the foul. His third.
Well, again, the thing that Rodman has to remember is Bird is twice as dangerous inside with penetration and making passes and getting fouls as he is out on the perimeter, so make him beat you over the top.
Kevin McHale also dominated with 29 points and 11 rebounds as Boston saw out victory. They met once more in the regular season, and Bird got 22 points in that one. After that game, both teams turned their focus to the playoffs, and they ended up meeting again in the 1988 Eastern Conference Finals. This time, the story flipped. The Pistons won the series in 6 games, taking it 4-2 and advancing to the NBA Finals for the first time since moving to Detroit. Bird averaged almost 20 points in that series. Rodman, now fully learning his lesson from those regular season matchups and embracing his defensive role, came off the bench and was a major factor, frequently matching up with Bird, playing him physically, and forcing tough shots with help defense. It was the first time Detroit knocked out Boston in the playoffs during the decade. They went on to reach the NBA Finals for the first time, pushing the Lakers to 7 games before falling short. Detroit's style wore Boston down. The Pistons won games 1 and 5 on the road in Boston and closed the series at home in game 6, 95-90. Isaiah Thomas, Joe Dumas, and the rest of the bad boys outlasted the Celtics in a series defined by contact, toughness, and constant pressure. By the end of it, Rodman wasn't just a young guy chasing Bird anymore. he had become a real piece of a team that was ready to take over the East. But even if he wouldn't admit it, being schooled by Larry Bird in his early career was the biggest eye-opener for him and would sharpen him for his dominant Chicago Bulls days. He learned the hard way what many players learned when facing Larry Legend. You either come prepared to take all the bullets or you'll leave with embarrassment, humiliation, and thinking to yourself, man, why did I even try?